Well, deliberative rhetoric is simply persuasive rhetoric, so that's all you needed to remember. Today, our learning objective is to analyse examples of persuasive speech. We know what, or we're starting to get to know what persuasive speech and what the techniques are. We will be going over them again today, but we're going to look at analysing them and spotting them in other people's speeches. So your title is analysing examples of persuasive speech. And when you've done that, just move to the next slide. Deliberative rhetoric. Really, that's just persuasive rhetoric. Rhetoric is simply devices used in writing. So you just need to write this definition into your books. Deliberative rhetoric, it is an argument relating to or intended for consideration or discussion. An argument is made using examples from the past to predict future outcomes. So you're simply saying in your speech, look, this was done in the past and this is what happened. If we do it now, that will happen again. We just need to get those definitions into our book. So I'll just give you 5 minutes to do that. Now, DAFORREST, we went over it yesterday, but we're going to go over it again today, and we're going to go over it many more times until all of us know exactly what it is, because 95% of the time in the GCSE you're asked to write a persuasive speech. So if you know this, that's half of one paper of the GCSE sorted. I mean, it's that easy just remembering this. So can you remember them? They are direct address, alliteration or anecdote, facts, opinions, rhetorical questions, repetition, emotive language, the emotional language, statistics, triplets or tricolon, and the rule of three. Direct address is when you talk directly to your audience. You know, why don't you go and do this? That's a direct address. Alliteration is the bouncing ball broke Bob's back. You know, it's when you've got all the first letters of the words are the same to create an effect. Facts are simply facts. You would be making them up in the speech that you wrote. Opinions, that's just your opinion. Obviously, your opinion would be on the side of your argument. Rhetorical questions tied very closely to direct address. Why don't you go out and get a job? That's a rhetorical question, which is well, it's impossible to write a rhetorical question without it being direct address, so you'd have them both covered there. Repetition, you know what that is. Emotive language is simply emotional language. Statistics are facts that are numbers, and triplets, or they might otherwise be called a tricolon, it's the rule of three, when you say the same thing 3 times but in slightly different ways. My first job was wonderful. It led me on to have a fantastic career in a beautiful building, or you know, so you've got fantastic, beautiful and wonderful all in that one sentence. That's 3 things to emphasize the effect, to create the effect you want. Let's have a think about that. Why might these be useful in a deliberative speech? We won't dwell on that. It's simply because they are persuasive. You don't need to worry about defining how it is they do what they do. You just need to know to use them to be persuasive in your speeches. Or you guys probably don't know, or you may do, who Tony Blair is. He was the last Labour Prime Minister of England. I think when did he lose his election? He lost the election in 2004, and we've had a Tory government ever since. But he had 3 terms, so 12 years he was in power for. And he made a very famous speech, which is known as the education speech, where he promised to, and he fulfilled a lot of those promises actually. He promised to support education, pour money into schools and so on. But it was a very persuasive speech, because the idea was that it persuaded people to vote for the Labour Party. Now I want you to just have a think about this. Why is education so important to us all? And it is. Don't just say that it isn't. I know you wouldn't say that, but it is, believe me. Just have to think about that, which will help you engage with the speech when we read it. And now we're going to read a slightly abridged, as in shortened version of this speech by Tony Blair. And one of his main arguments was the importance of education. That's the part that we're looking at. And once you've read it, we're going to identify a range of DAFORREST features used in his speech. And I'll do some for you. I'll model some for you, and then you can do it from there. So, and here's the speech. There's going to be words in here that you don't understand, and that's fine. At your age, that's completely understandable. But try and get to grips with the overall sentiment of the speech. If we are given a second term to serve this country, our mission will be the renewal of our public services. There is nothing more important to making Britain a fairer and stronger country. Our top priority was, and is and always will be, education, education, education. To overcome decades of neglect to make Britain a learning society, developing the talents and raising the ambitions of all our young people. For us, investment in education comes before irresponsible tax cuts. In the 5 years 2003-4, education spending will have risen more in real terms than in the 18 Tory years put together. We will continue to put more resources into education to tackle decades of underinvestment. We are pledged to increase the share of national income devoted to education over the second term as we did it in the first. We believe in teachers and lecturers and the necessity of giving them the respect, support and reward they deserve. There's advertisement there, but there was a picture there. I'll try and take that out. The choice in the election is clear. While we propose year-on-year investment, the Tory 20 billion cuts plans means year-on-year education cuts. While we pledged 10,000 more teachers, the Tory manifesto did not pledge one new teacher. While we pledged 20,000 more classroom assistants, the Tory manifesto did not even mention them. While we want higher standards for all, the Tories still believe that excellent means exclusivity and the best education for only a few. While we have made reforms, the Tories have opposed them. In the past 4 years, our teachers have achieved outstanding results. They have carried through what Ofsted calls a transformation in primary school standards. The best primary test results ever. 160,000 more 11-year-olds reaching the standard for their age in literacy and numeracy than 4 years ago. The lowest scoring areas now doing better than the national average of 4 years ago. All made possible by our investment in training and support for literacy and numeracy and smaller infant class sizes. We pledge a step change in standards and support at every level. We pledge to put the front line first, not only to recruit at least 10,000 more teachers and 20,000 more support staff, but to improve their rewards and conditions, to give successful teachers and head teachers the frontline freedom they need to raise standards without excessive red tape or central direction. But our boldest ambition for the second term is to transform secondary education, to reshape and improve it radically in partnership with teachers and parents so that the secondary school of the future develops the talent of each individual pupil as far as it will go, moving beyond the old comprehensive versus grammar school divide. Labour wants class standards for many, not the few as in the past. We will invest and reform to achieve that goal. The Conservatives will go back to cuts, indifference and neglect, back to the Thatcher agenda. I say it is time to move on, and I ask for a mandate to move Britain on, to deliver opportunity to all through realising the talent of all. Now I want you to identify in there as many DAFORREST techniques as you can. Now let's have a look. Direct address. No, I really don't think there is any direct address in there. Alliteration. Well, we've got the education, which is both alliteration and repetition. So alliteration and repetition there. Education, I'll find one more. Facts. Well, there's loads of facts in here. 18 Tory years put together. Facts. Opinion. Politicians don't really go in for opinion. They have to speak in facts, or what are perceived as facts. So there we are. There's two. So I want you to go through and highlight as many, or just spot. I mean, you don't really even need to print this out. Just be able to go through and spot as many DAFORREST techniques as you can. Right, now you've done that, you've spotted the DAFORREST techniques in Mr. Blair's speech. I want you to pick what you think are the 3 most powerful or compelling quotes from the speech, and write each one into a spider diagram and consider the multiple effects the technique creates. So I've done it for education. One of the ones I picked out. It's repetition, and that enforces how it is key in his policy. It highlights the importance of education, and it makes us believe he will do something about the state of education. So I want you to find 3 quotes, just short ones, and do that. That will take you 10 minutes. Write the quotes into your books and do that. Maybe a bit more actually, let's say 15 minutes. Now your task is to imagine you are a politician. You've been asked by the Prime Minister to write a speech called Jobs, Jobs, Jobs. So a lot of the same things apply in this as they did in the education speech. So using the same style and the DAFORREST techniques that you know, plan your speech. So write a list of techniques with examples that you will use. Fact: without a job you cannot afford your family. So there we are, fact, and there's a little example there. And then plan how you will structure your speech. Paragraph 1, start with a startling fact and emotive language to introduce topic. And we've been over earlier in the week the speech openers. So you're going to need to stop this. I don't know if you're watching this on YouTube. If you are, you're going to need to stop this lesson in various places and go back to achieve this. So good luck with that. And listen, Year 10, I will give 3 achievement points to anybody who sends me a speech that they do. All right, 3 achievement points. Come on, let's get some work done, people. So when we get back, we're not miles behind. We were doing so well. I don't want us to all drift off target. That said, don't worry too much about it because there's a limit to what we can do. I know that you're all under different bits of pressure at home, but it would be nice to see some work if you've got it and you're able to send it to me. My email address is on the it's on the first slide of this presentation, and it's also on class charts. So that's it for this week, and I will speak to you on Monday. Enjoy Year 10.